What's good, yo? Welcome back to a brand new episode of the weirdest videos from all over the internet. Without further ado, let's get to the video. Hope you enjoy.
Blood-curdling facts that you wish you never knew. When a person is electrocuted via electric chair, they feel absolutely everything. They're completely aware of their body being deep fried in real time. And one person who survived the first round of electrocution said it tasted like cold peanut butter. As you're watching this video, your internal organs are constantly moving around inside you. Your armpit is where most of your important nerves in your arms are, so if you stab it, it will leave your arm completely useless. Ted Bundy, the serial killer, used to work at a suicide hotline. Scaphism was a form of ancient torture where someone's body was tied between two boats and they were covered in milk and honey, and bugs and other animals would feast on their body for days. Cotard's delusion is a rare condition where people literally think they're dead, and many of them ask to be taken to a cemetery to be with other dead people. There are over 200 dead bodies on Mount Everest, and they're used as checkpoints by climbers. If you die inside of your house, it's very common that your pet is going to want to eat you. You wouldn't do that, would you? Neil Armstrong's footprints on the moon don't match up with the ones on his astronaut suit.
And yeah, Ted Bundy used to work at a suicide hotline because he wanted to prevent you from unaliving yourself. Because he wanted to do it himself, you know what I mean? He's not gonna let you do his job for him, you know? That's his job. Anyways.
Imagine going to a family Christmas dinner and almost everyone dies from poisoning. This woman tried to kill her husband's entire family by giving them a cake she baked that was laced with arsenic. 3 family members passed away, 3 others were hospitalized, and this woman who poisoned everyone ended up taking her own life in jail. This all happened on December 23rd when 42-year-old Diaz Mora baked a cake and invited her husband's entire family over. That evening, they began cutting the cake that they would normally eat on Christmas Eve, and almost everyone complained about the taste and that it tasted a little weird. But they still ate a significant amount of cake, and almost everyone felt sick right away, and 3 people died right then and there. Investigators tested all the ingredients in the house and found that the flour used in the cake was laced with arsenic. But what's absolutely crazy is that a couple of months earlier, Diaz's father-in-law also suddenly died, and they exhumed his body and found high levels of poison. So they think that she also took his life. Now, you guys are probably wondering, well, what was the motive? Why did she do this? At first, the family didn't understand what caused her to commit this crime, but then they thought about it and they remembered a disagreement they had 20 years ago. 20 years ago, and they believe that she might have not got over this disagreement, and that's why she tried to unalive everyone. But things don't even end there, because while Diaz sat in prison, her husband told her that he wanted a divorce, and a day later, she took her own life.
Doing this on any day of the week is evil, but doing it on Christmas Day itself, that's something else. I mean, she's out here making the Grinch look like an angel.
On the evening of June 24th, 1993, 14-year-old Elizabeth Pena and 16-year-old Jennifer Ertman left a friend's pool party in Houston, Texas, and decided to walk home to their houses together. However, they would never make it back. On that night, 6 members of a local gang were drinking and fighting amongst each other, and they had decided that that night they were going to initiate their newest member, Raul Villarreal, and basically induct him into the gang. Jennifer and Elizabeth had been best friends for years, and they had walked home together many times. However, that night they decided to take a shortcut which would lead them along some railroad tracks in the White Oak Bayou area and through T.C. Jester Park. At one point when the girls were walking home, they passed by this group of 6 guys who were fighting amongst each other and drinking, and that's when things took an extremely dark turn. They first grabbed Elizabeth Pena, and when she tried to fight and resist, her friend Jennifer jumped in and tried to save her. However, this led to Jennifer being targeted as well. These 6 men would then subject Jennifer and Elizabeth to a gang rape that lasted over an hour and included elements of beating and physical and sexual torture. After this hour-long gang rape, they decided that it was time to kill the girls. First, they attempted to strangle Jennifer Ertman with a belt, but the belt snapped, and they eventually decided to continue strangling her until she was dead with a shoelace. Sadly, Elizabeth tried to escape, but she was eventually captured, and she was then beaten and strangled to death as well. For 4 days, Jennifer and Elizabeth were missing. Nobody had any idea what had happened to them or where they were, and this was all that anybody in Houston was talking about, the disappearance of these 2 normal teenage girls. However, 4 days later, their bodies were found in the area where they had been killed, and unfortunately they were so badly decomposed at this point already that they had to be identified through dental records. So all 6 of the gang members were eventually arrested and prosecuted. 5 of them received death sentences, and 2 of them later had those death sentences turned to life in prison. Now, 3 of these gang members have been executed by now, but I want to talk about Venancio down here. Venancio was only 14 years old when he participated in the gang rape and murder of these 2 girls, and he is actually up for parole right now. He was sentenced to only 40 years in prison, which means that regardless if he gets parole or not, he's going to be out in the public in Texas in about 8 years. To me, this is absolutely unacceptable and horrific, and I cannot even imagine what Jennifer and Elizabeth's families feel about this situation. A memorial was eventually erected to Elizabeth and Jennifer in the area where they were killed, which you can visit to this day in TC Jester Park. But there's a lot more to this story. My wife and I just covered this case on our podcast Murder in America, and if you want to listen, the show is on all streaming platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your shows.
I think we all feel the same about these menace to society. I don't want to say too much, but they all should be executed. This is like, it doesn't get any worse than this, you know?
Right? There was a massive footprint found in the side of a hill in Africa, and this footprint was 4 feet high, and the archaeologists who found this said it was in between 400 million and 3 billion years old, and this foot would belong to something 27 feet tall. What's crazy about it is, like, when you step in mud, the mud comes up, right? Just like how it did when you could see, like, where the mud came up when this foot stepped in it. Then they found a giant finger in Egypt that was 38 centimeters long and should be belong to something that is 16 feet tall. And I would also like to mention the fact that a bunch of these, like, cavemen and all these paintings have giants in them. So are giants real or just a myth? Let me know down in the comments.
There are some crazy things happening in the world right now. A man was fired after his employer discovered that his home office was actually a Carnival Cruise Line ship for 14 months. This is a visual that shows what the US Senate looks like by generation. Baby boomers are 61%, while millennials are only 4%. A new federal review came out that 44% of US trucking schools do not comply with government rules. A new study found that AI chatbots have used incorrect information to change people's political opinions. A Kansas accountant stole $400,000 from his own family, transferred it to a fake ranch called Middle Finger Ranch, and then used that money to pay for the construction of his new home. NASA spacecraft were vulnerable to hacking for 3 years, and nobody knew until AI found it and fixed it within 4 days. Half of all plastics production in human history has happened since the launch of Instagram. My name's Adorian. Follow me to stay in the loop.
I bet you didn't know what happened on this film set. I've spoken a lot before about The Wizard of Oz and how it's one of the most evil films ever made. We all know the horrendous things that happened on the set of that movie. But what you probably didn't realise was what happened on the set of the movie Titanic. There wasn't any reported abuse or fake hanging munchkins in the trees or anything like that, but somebody did try to kill the entire crew. So I'll let you make your own mind up there. In 1997, the final night of filming the Titanic had come. While filming in Nova Scotia, Canada, 80 of the crew and cast members, including the director James Cameron, were rushed to hospital and all in a pretty severe state. Well, it was after they all ate PCP-laced chowder. So the food that they had for dinner was like a lobster sort of dish that they were all eating. Every single one of the cast and crew there was eating this. Now, if you don't know what PCP is, it's actually a hallucinogenic drug. This, of course, temporarily put a halt on production while the people were in hospital, but it did resume very shortly after. No one did die, but they were left in a very bad state, not the way you want to finish your filming. There was a large investigation conducted into it, but still to this day, no one really knows exactly what happened. But the way the PCP was laced into the food, somebody did it. This wasn't just like an error. Somebody on the crew, or one of the cast, had decided they wanted to severely harm, if not kill, all of the crew, so laced the food with this stuff. But still, as I say, to this day, no one knows who that was, but let me know who you think it could have been.
Come on, let's be honest here. We all know who did it. It was Leonardo DiCaprio himself. I mean, yeah, I just don't like him, so obviously it was him. In my personal opinion, which I am entitled to, you know? You may disagree, but I don't like Leonardo. He did it.
Imagine beating someone up on the streets who deserves it so badly that you literally get an award from your city. Well, it's actually what just happened in Hawaii a few days ago when this tourist from Seattle got caught on camera throwing a massive rock at a seal. Although that was already bad enough, this just so happened to be a highly endangered monk seal, a species that's not only culturally important, it's also incredibly loved by all of the locals. And when some of these locals quickly confronted the guy and told him he could be fined up to $50,000, all he said in response was, "I don't care, I'm rich, I visit Hawaii every few months." Now the guy probably just went on with his day and didn't think much of it, but what he never expected was for this clip to just go insanely viral and all of his personal information to soon get leaked. Since people realized that Igor Litvinchuk actually owned a trucking company called IL Logistics, they quickly started bombing it with negative reviews and spam calls. When a Hawaiian native just so happened to find Igor on the street, he gave him a little piece of his own mind. And now the mayor of Maui County has personally promised to federally prosecute Igor, which could include jail time. When a clip of this local beating him up was shown in court, everyone kept his identity anonymous and just called him an environmental activist and awarded him as an ambassador of Aloha.
Our attorney over here wants to make it clear we don't condone violence.
I mean, why? Just why? Like, it doesn't make sense, especially as a grown man, going to other people's countries and destroying their animals for fun. I mean, I probably did some stuff like this when I was 14 to a seagull, but I was dumb and young, you know? It's unacceptable behavior. Jail forever.
Is the world's first production-ready manned mecha called the GD-01. And you know shit's real when they have to warn everyone to be sure to use the robot in a friendly and safe manner. Bro, we about to get some super villains. Now, not only is this thing massive, standing at 8'8", weighing 1,100 pounds with the pilot inside, so way bigger than a human, but also it looks like it can punch through walls and switch between two-legged and four-legged movement on command. Now, the reason people are losing their minds is that this isn't just a prototype like we've seen many times before. This is now a real commercial product that anyone can buy. The first of its kind for $650,000. But, believe it or not, that actually is considered a pretty reasonable price for the robotics that will go into this. The big question is, we copping or what?
Give me 60 seconds and I will convince you that oceanic white-tip sharks are scarier than great white sharks. Yeah, even scarier than this great white shark. Oceanic white-tips make great white sharks look as cute and cuddly as the one in this photo does. Oceanic white-tips were responsible for the largest shark attack in history. This is the USS Indianapolis. There were 890 men alive when it sunk. They recovered 316. Nobody knows how many were taken out by oceanic white-tips, but some estimate up to 150. They have been known and documented to get into what is called a feeding frenzy. You might say, well, if these things are so dangerous, how come the number of attacks from oceanic white-tips is nowhere near the number from great whites or tiger or bull sharks? It's because they spend far less time near humans. They live in the open ocean. But you know what comes with living in the open ocean? A lot less access to food. That means when they see food, they have to take it. And guess what else oceanic white-tips are known to do? These are the sharks that are the most likely to follow ships. That means if you fall off the ship or your ship sinks, you're gonna be running into some of these guys. But you know what? Don't take my word for it. Listen to Jacques Cousteau. He was the inventor of scuba. He was in the Navy. He devoted his life to studying the ocean and making documentaries about it. He said oceanic white-tip sharks are the most dangerous sharks. Researchers who study oceanic white-tip sharks have said on average they weigh 80 pounds less than they did 20 years ago. In other words, they're hungry.
Whoever came up with the name White Tips needs a mental evaluation and jail time. That's how I personally feel about this. Out of all the names you could have come up with, you chose White Tips.
The largest land animals on Earth have been hiding in a forest for decades now, and nobody could ever prove that they existed. So deep in the highlands in Angola, there's a population of elephants that locals have been trying to find for decades. They literally call them ghost elephants, and apparently they move at night and avoid all human contact. And despite years of searching now, no scientist ever in history has ever been able to see one with their own eyes. A conservation biologist named Steve Boyce spent over 10 years trying to find them. He went in by motorbike, by helicopter, and placed 180 motion cameras and 100 different microphones across the entire forest. 7 entire years of recordings and not a single elephant in any single one of them. People actually started comparing him to someone chasing a myth, because if they can't find him, then nobody's believing it. Then a former hunter sent him a message and basically just said, "You're looking in the wrong place," so he changed direction. And finally, the cameras caught something. It was eyes glowing in the dark and the first official images of a ghost elephant ever recorded. They hid from humans for decades, and we officially can confirm that they are real.
On January 20th, 2026, that girl you just saw in the video, who goes by the name La Nicolette, was kidnapped at gunpoint in Mexico. Now, La Nicolette is a content creator and influencer who lives in America and splits her time between Phoenix, Arizona and Sinaloa, Mexico. But what happened on January 25th was shocking. So according to La Nicolette, she was abducted by what seemed to be members of a Mexican cartel at gunpoint right in front of her Tesla Cybertruck, which caught the incident on camera. And this was pretty big news. She was actually missing for about 5 days. This was a massive news story here in America, but eventually on January 25th, they located La Nicolette and they brought her home safely. Now, it's still kind of murky as to what happened here, but I'm going to read you a little quote from this news report about her. During the days she remained missing, another video circulated on social media in which the influencer reads a statement accusing a criminal group known as La Maiza, also referred to as Los Mayos, a faction linked to the Sinaloa cartel, of pressuring individuals like her to participate in criminal activities tied to organized crime. In the same video, she alleges being forced to hand over money to state patrols on behalf of a figure identified as El Maito Flaco, among other claims. So what exactly went down here, we still don't really know. I don't think she's ever spoken about this, at least not that I could find. But this is just another reason why you don't mess around in Mexico.
Blood-curdling facts that you wish you never knew. The chemical weapon sarin gas works by not allowing your body's muscles to relax, so they can constrict but are unable to release, causing every single part of your body to cramp until you suffocate to death. Up until the 1800s, dentures were primarily made by the teeth of dead soldiers. Speaking of teeth, babies' adult teeth are located right below their eyeballs. There was a Roman form of torture known as goat's lick, where a person's feet were soaked in salt water and the goat would lick their feet until their flesh was gone. Most serial killers are born in November. When a woman with breast implants is cremated, her implants will melt and drip to the bottom of the furnace. A man was once discovered to have a fir tree growing inside of his body. The doctors thought it was a tumor, but they soon discovered he had inhaled a fir tree seed and it had sprouted and grown inside of his lungs. Right now, in your bed are between 100,000 to 10 million dust mites. And if this isn't bad enough, they feast on skin flakes. An octopus is so flexible that it's capable of entering through your mouth, traveling through your digestive tract, and coming out through your asshole.
Anyways, yo, that's about it for this episode. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.